Hello, everyone. Good morning. It is Tuesday, June 30th, 8 a.m. Pacific time, and you're here with me, Erin Carrera, on the Modern Oracle here on 12 Radio on YouTube. So excited to talk to you all today. So today, it is the 5th Tuesday of the month. So that's pretty wild. It's pretty wild to me that I now have done 5 episodes of this show. I'm very excited to see if any of you want readings today, because today we will be doing live readings. And I want to let you know, I'm looking, when you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking over here at YouTube. I'm going to be checking in on YouTube throughout this episode. If you would like to get a little mini reading from me today, simply put your question in the chat box over on YouTube, and we will do a little mini reading for you. So, in the meantime, I thought that we would be also asking questions today, or I thought I would leave you by the end of the show with 4 questions that can give you a deeper understanding of your own situation. So, now this is a little bit different. Oh, I already see people showing up in the chat room. Let's just take a look and see. Oh, Quelly, good morning. Good morning. And yes, full moon blessings, because yesterday was the full moon in Capricorn. And we do have to say it that way because my husband is a Capricorn. That's how he says it. He's a Capricorn. And he might also say Capricornio because, of course, he's Italian. But by the end of the show, I hope that you'll be left with 4 questions that you can ask anytime to leave you with a deeper understanding of your situation, right? I thought it would be important because often when people are calling me or going to anyone for a reading, they are often asking, what do I do? So what should I do? What do I do? And that is sometimes really pointing at deeper questions, right? Deeper questions like, what's really going on here? What do I really need to know? How do I proceed? How do I manage my emotions around things? There's so many different questions and different deeper aspects of what do I do? And that's not the only question people ask. Of course, people call and say, what are they thinking? What am I thinking? Who's thinking it all? Is anybody thinking, hello, is this thing on? That sort of thing. There's all manner of questions people have in their hearts and in their minds, and they want to explore. But I thought, okay, how do we know if we're even asking the right question? The right question being questions that will actually help us navigate what we're going through. Also, I wanted to say that I did bring with me today one of my favorite tarot decks. I have many, of course, but today, oh, you can't see it. You cannot tell from the back exactly what deck this is. So I'm going to hold up the box that it came in and see. Well, it's probably backwards. This is the Golden Girls Tarot deck, just to cut to the chase, which I think is about the most fabulous thing that one could get. The only thing that could also be as great maybe would be the Sex and the City Tarot card deck, which I don't know if that exists. But this is indeed the Golden Girls Tarot deck. Picture it, 2026, Los Angeles, California. There I was, right? So we might pull some cards from the Golden Girls Tarot deck today, because who better to guide us through life than Dorothy, Blanche, Sophia, and Rose? And if you're not a Golden Girls fan, I simply don't know what to say. You gotta get on the bandwagon. You gotta go get your cheesecake, and you gotta go bring up a couple episodes and live and learn. It's actually a wonderful question. This isn't one of my 4 questions, but a really fun question, if you are aware of the Golden Girls, is which Golden Girl is your archetype? Right? Are you a Dorothy? Are you a Blanche? Are you a Rose? Or are you a Sophia? Now, in my heart of hearts, I feel I feel like a Dorothy becoming a Sophia, but that's not my casting, right? It's interesting if you've been following along on Mark's astrology shows, and he talks about the sun, your sun sign being who you're becoming, what the different signs mean about you, your rising sign, your moon sign. The moon I've often heard described as who you are when you first wake up in the morning, which makes perfect sense to me because I have a moon in Aries, and the minute I wake up, I'm like, bing, I'm awake. Let's do this, people. Let's go. And that is wildly different than my sun sign, which is Pisces. So loves to sleep, watch the ocean, many other things. Of course, there's many different kinds of Pisces because, as one of my favorite astrology tomes says, Pisces, been every sign, been with every sign. No, that's from the book Rotten Astrology. If you've ever read that book, it's great. Everything that's wrong with your sign. You have to have a little bit of a sense of humor to take that one in. And most signs do. I won't say which signs don't. All right. So what if we're asking the wrong questions, right? What if we are? Or the wrong questions for us, not because we're doing something wrong, not because there even is really a wrong question, but there might be questions that are designed to actually keep us in a pattern or keep us in a loop rather than questions that might liberate us, questions that might deepen our understanding, questions that might help us end a pattern or at least recognize a pattern so that we have a lot more choice in the matter, right? Okay, so today I want to talk about specifically questions that can actually change things. All right, so what should I do? People call, chat. You can call, you can chat, you can get written readings. There's all manner of ways to reach us over at onetolisten.com. And like I said, one of the number one questions I get is, what do I do? And I mean, again, very human question. Another question I get often is, how do they really feel about me? What are they really thinking? What's really going to happen? What's going to happen next? What's going to happen in 37 years? What's going to happen, right? And I get all kinds of questions. And that's great. You are free to ask whatever you want, especially when you call me. But I think for today, I think that there are other questions that you might want to just play around with, okay? These are questions that I myself ask of myself when I'm navigating things. So the first question is, what am I avoiding? Ooh, that one is so fast. What am I avoiding? So if you think about a situation you've got going on in your life, and you're trying to make a decision, and I'll just use my own personal life for a moment. My mother's been unwell, and I'm deciding when should I go spend time with her. And there's a lot to that question because July happens to be a very busy month for me here in Los Angeles. My mother lives in the Midwest, and they keep telling me, like, no, you don't have to come. You need to come when you have time. We're fine. We're fine. But of course, I'm thinking of every scenario that could play out, and I don't want to miss something. Right? And so when we're asking, what should I do? When should I go? When should I not go? What makes the most sense? Should I go for a long time? Should I make myself available to help? Should I wait until they need help? Should I just go a bunch of times? The price of flights being what they are, right? So the first question I might ask myself is when I'm looking at this situation is, what am I avoiding? God, that question is even rude, isn't it? It's kind of a rude question. What am I avoiding? But it is so helpful because the moment you hear the words, what am I avoiding? Something in you goes, oh, right? That little flinch. Inside that, there's an answer. Okay. Right. I mean, we're humans. We have had to learn to use all kinds of crazy coping mechanisms, not even crazy, sometimes just healthy coping mechanisms, right? Good health and healthy and helpful coping mechanisms, but also unhealthy coping mechanisms. We've learned to shove things under our emotional rug, store it for later, pretend it didn't happen, ignore, deny, all manner of dealing with all of the different aspects of our lives. And we've even learned to construct very sophisticated narratives around why we can't do the thing or what we don't really want to know about the thing, right? Especially if there's something that you really don't want to be true. Oh boy, we are the queens and kings of that, right? The timing isn't right, or the circumstances aren't aligned, or Mercury's in retrograde, whatever, just the full moon. Sometimes these things are actually true, and sometimes the questions are complex. But a lot of times we might just be avoiding a conversation or a decision or a truth we don't want to be true, a hard truth, right? An inconvenient truth, a version of ourselves we're not sure we're ready to deal with yet, a version of the world we don't want to admit is the way the world is, right? So question number one, what are you actively not looking at? So I see that we have, I just want to check in on our chat room. You're so Blanche. Quelly is so Blanche. Oh, that's so fun. Blanche Dubois. So Quelly's referring to which Golden Girl is your archetype, right? Which one are you? So if you've never had the treat of watching the Golden Girls, and I'm a huge fan, I even have gone to Golden Girls cosplay events, Golden Girls art exhibits and art shows, the Golden Girls kitchen pop-up when it was over here. I'm pointing that way because it was just a mile that way in Beverly Hills. Because I live very close to there. I just adore the Golden Girls and everything about it, or almost everything about it. Theme song, their crazy outfits. The fact that they were actually so young in real life and on the show, but it was the 80s, so they had old-timey hairstyles. Blanche Dubois is the Southern Belle. She's the sexy one. And if we're comparing them to Sex and the City, one might draw a comparison between Blanche and Samantha. I would say all of the Golden Girls are all my favorites, whereas on Sex and the City, Samantha is my favorite. And if I were to pick my casting, I'm sure my casting is Blanche Dubois, or my casting depends on who you ask. Some people might say it's Rose, but my casting is probably Blanche Dubois becoming Sophia. My inner heart feels like Dorothy becoming Sophia. But if we're talking Sex and the City, I used to be Carrie. I have graduated from Carrie. I really can't say I'm Samantha in real life, but that would definitely be my casting. But I would say probably I am Carrie on that show, even though I don't want to be. Right? What am I avoiding? What am I avoiding? Right? Well, Quelly is Blanche. So who is your spirit animal? On the Golden Girls, we have Blanche. She's the Southern Belle. She's the Venusian, right? She's sexy. She's just full of this sort of Venusian Aphrodite, romantic, sexual, sensual energy. But she's actually quite loving and loyal. And then there's Rose. Rose is very naive. She would correlate to Charlotte on Sex and the City. She's naive and innocent, but she's not always innocent. She can tell some real zingers, and if you push her too far, she has a limit. She's from the fictional town of St. Olaf, Minnesota, although there is a St. Olaf College. I did go to St. Olaf College for a year. So did the Great Gatsby. Anyway, and she is one thing that's true about all of these people is they're very loyal to their friends. Then there's Dorothy. Dorothy is wry and ironic and sardonic, and she's sort of the one who everything that could go wrong kind of goes wrong for her. And then there's Sophia. Sophia is wise, and she's the wisecracker, and she's full of not just wisdom, but she's also full of wit and humor. And so those are your 4 archetypes. Which one are you? All right, question number 2. So question 1 was, what am I actively avoiding? Question number 2 is, what would I do if I trusted myself? Now, there is something very interesting in this question, because there is a movement happening across our culture right now where a lot of people, especially when we're talking about relationships, are entering relationship dynamics differently. And I'm talking about decentering patriarchy, women centering themselves more in the conversation. And I think this is a worthy swing of the pendulum. Of course I do. Have you met me? I think a question that is a wonderful addition to this, what would I do if I trusted myself, is what do I really want? Because so many of us have learned, and I do think primarily women, but not just women, a lot of people in culture have learned to fixate on the other, right? Look to the other, center the other. Now, that is not true for everyone. If we're talking about a certain other subculture, a certain other aspect, percentage of the culture, there are people who have been taught to center themselves, to honor themselves first. And I just don't know how many of those people I'm talking to, which is why I'm not saying you should center yourself, because not everyone needs to center themselves, right? For example, I remember years ago, I went to a 12-step group, and my sponsor was this amazing woman. And she was telling me that she wishes for eating disorder related issues, which is why I was there, they would rewrite the big book, because the big book was written in the 30s for men. And for a certain kind of person who really did need to feel guilt because they hadn't been feeling guilt. This was her opinion. This is not what 12 step says, for the record. Okay. So don't go give me comments of that's not what 12 step is. This is what her opinion, which I think was valid after her, 30 years of or whatever in the program and I think there is wisdom to this idea that yes, this book was written for a culture of people who weren't running around emotionally laboring for others, right? Doing emotional labor for others, because many women in our culture are already indoctrinated into a culture of guilt and shame over their very womanhood. I don't think this is anything new and surprising to us. And she thought that there should be a separate book for people who don't need to learn to subjugate their egos, right? A group of people are taught to subjugate their egos all the time. And anyone who's been a mother can tell you, of course, you start doing that just by the dint of being a mother. And so again, I'm not saying that it's only women and only men. I'm just saying there are many people who have learned to cater to others, to people please others, to take care of others. And those people often need to learn to develop, if not an ego, develop stronger boundaries, develop a stronger sense of self, learn to radically love and accept oneself, learn to trust oneself. You see where I'm going? Now we come back to the question, what would I do if I trusted myself? Whereas there are people who actually need to be of service to others, learn to be of service to others. There are people who need to learn to subjugate their ego more than they do, so that they have the ability and the choice in the moment. I know I'm saying things that fly in the face of so many creators right now, but just because a creator says it doesn't mean it's true. I ask you to really question everything. Don't just listen to me. Ask yourself, right? That's the whole point of these questions. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding? What would I do if I actually trusted myself? Because if you actually trusted yourself, that would remove a lot of noise, wouldn't it? It would remove so much noise. All those outside voices, all that indoctrination, all the voices that live in your head rent free, right? The teacher who didn't believe in you in 4th grade, the bullies in 8th grade. I'm just speaking for a friend, right? People who sound suspiciously like people who aren't even in your life anymore, probably, and yet they still get to live in your head and question you and help you doubt yourself. Well, you know what? They get to go quiet. They get to go quiet while you ask yourself, if I trusted myself, what would I do? Right? So that is such a deep and wonderful question, because it really does help us understand, oh, where don't I trust myself and why? Have I broken trust with myself? Do I want to repair trust with myself? What would it take to repair trust with myself? What would that take? What would that take? Okay. Sometimes these answers might come just immediately, not necessarily dramatically. As you can see, I'm on the operatic side of life. But to me, these questions, they're less like strikes of lightning, although sometimes they're just more like remembering something you already knew. Like, oh yeah, oh right? Just in case you're wondering. Question 3. What keeps repeating? This is a really good question, right? This is a question the universe is really trying to get you to pay attention to. So, for example, I did a TikTok and an Instagram video the other day about red flags that don't show up as red flags. So if you want to find me on TikTok, it's Erin Carrera. You can find me on Instagram, One2Listen Erin, where I do relationship videos, maybe 1 or 2 a week in addition to this show. Same kind of content, just bite-sized. And I was talking about red flags that often don't show up the color red. And one of them is if somebody that you've just met and you want to date says, oh, all my exes are crazy. Oh, that's interesting. Because in the beginning you might be like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. What bad luck. But let's be real. Now, if this person is 19 and they've had 1 ex, okay, all your exes might be crazy. But if you are a 52-year-old person and you've been in 11 relationships, 3 of which were serious, and they're all crazy, I'm going to tell you, honey, there's a common denominator in this. This is a repeat, right? This is a repeat. This is a repeat. They might not be the exact same person, but if all of them are crazy, there is something in you attracting crazy. Sorry, don't shoot the messenger, right? So, okay, it's not always that we're doing something wrong, though, right? If you keep having something repeating in your life, then this might be the same tension showing up in your life asking to be resolved. The same tension showing up even wearing different costumes, but it's like, oh, it's the pattern, right? And the pattern might not even be in just one genre of your life. It might not be only relationships or only jobs. It might be, oh, a pattern now I'm seeing. Yes, I am seeing this pattern in my jobs, in my relationships, in the way I garden. I don't know, whatever, it could be a number of places that this repeating energy is showing up. Okay. So, and it might also not just be your pattern. It might be that, I mean, yes, it might be, right? You end up with the same kind of friendships over and over again, or, every job you have leaves you feeling invisible, or every January you make the same promise and every March you've completely forgotten the promise. If you have listened to me for a while, you know I don't do resolutions, but many people do. And I wonder if that isn't just a little bit of a trap, right? So sometimes it's symbols that show up again and again. I know a lot of people watching the show are probably into number symbols, 4444, 1111, 222. Or if you're me, you like 221. That's Sherlock Holmes. Also my birthday. Also Rue McClanahan's birthday, the lady who played Blanche on The Golden Girls. See, we're bringing it back here. We're bringing it back. In tarot, if cards keep showing up, that's an important thing to look at. If you are seeing a certain symbol that keeps showing up, an owl, for example, and you don't live, for example, on a farm, you live in the middle of Los Angeles, but you keep seeing owls everywhere, it might be interesting to look at that, right? So let's just pull a tarot deck, a card from the tarot deck. I just pulled a card. I just pulled the Magician, which is on the Golden Girls tarot deck. The Magician is Sophia with a wand. Now, the Magician, of course, is about, a number of things, where we have mastery, where we are developing mastery, where we can manifest out of our own sheer will or our own wisdom, knowledge, and acquired knowledge, right? If, for example, signs of the Magician keep showing up for you, that is something interesting for you to look at. Where are you becoming a master? Where have you amassed skills? Where is it time for you to utilize those skills in service of love, your values, your life, etc. Right? Okay. Question number 4, which is very similar to question number 1, but it is different. What am I pretending? Right? What am I pretending not to know? What am I pretending is okay? What am I pretending? Because underneath what am I pretending not to know? What am I pretending to be? Are deeper questions about, is this working for me? Am I performing, and do I like the performance? Now, of course, most humans perform, right? Especially in 2026. Not all the time for a lot of people. But when you are, just here's an example. If you can, just close your eyes for a minute, take a deep breath in. And I want you to imagine that your mother is in front of you. And I want you to say to your mother, I love you. Right? For me, that instantly brings up some emotion because my mom's going through stuff. Some of you might have other emotions. You might not have a good relationship with your mother. Your mother may not be with us anymore. Your mother might be annoying right now. Your mom might be right there, right? So now I want you to close your eyes and I want you to imagine that you are in your car and you just got pulled over by a sheriff or a police officer because you really were speeding. You were driving really fast. And they're giving you a ticket for driving too fast. And I want you to say, I love you, to that police officer, even though that's probably pretty weird, right? To say that to an officer of the law. But I'm looking at last time I got pulled over, which was a long time ago now, thankfully. And I'm saying, I love you. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to me, right? Now, I'm looking to be as true to myself as possible. I'm looking to be as true to myself as possible as I say this. But if we were to say a different phrase, if we were to say, thank you, imagine your mother, go back to your mother. Thank you, right? It's just one of many thank yous that comes to me from my mom. Thank you. That's a deeper thank you to my mom. But now I want you to go back to that police officer. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. You're in your car. You just got pulled over by a police officer. Thank you. Right? Thank you. Like it's a different energy. Are you really thanking a police officer for pulling you over? I mean, there are reasons to do so. Thank you for stopping me from speeding so I don't get more tickets, so I don't get into an accident, so I don't harm somebody. Thank you for doing your job. Thanks for not going after real criminals doing real crimes in this city right now. I'm just kidding. I'm married to a former police officer. I'm just saying, like, all kinds of reasons people might say thank you that might not mean thank you at all. Like, thanks a lot. Yeah, thanks, right? Thanks is definitely a phrase that we might use and we might say, but we really mean F you. Thanks a lot, buddy. Right? That subtext there being F you, buddy. But we have to perform civility. Otherwise, we get in bigger trouble. You see what I'm saying? Well, now we're living in a world where we are performing all the time. People are performing on social media. Not everybody, but a lot of people, right? And even if you are, even this right now, like I'm trying to be as real with you as possible, but I'm still on camera. I mean, I'm aware of the fact that I'm trying to make sure I'm sitting up straight. What's up, peeps? I could be a little bit more relaxed, right? But I'm just saying, like, there's still, it's not wrong to even perform all the time, but performing is different than pretending. Great actors aren't pretending necessarily. They may be, they might, but great acting, if possible, is just living. But we are all somewhere hiding something from ourselves, pretending. And I mean this differently than avoiding, right? Although they're connected, pretending, right? I mean, we humans are amazing because most of us, not all, there are people in this world who must say the thing they know to be true. But a lot of us are really, really, really fully capable of fully knowing something and simultaneously behaving for years as though that thing is not true. I mean, a lot of us do that just to get through life. A lot of us do that around certain jolly people who come around Christmas time. And we have this whole story that we tell kids about it that maybe we should or should not. There's all kinds of reasons why we do. So these are the 4 questions. And I think sometimes when we're asking to tap into wisdom, it isn't necessarily a new answer. It may be. But sometimes I think it's actually really deeply trusting the answer that you've had within you all along, even if you don't like it. I think there's that phrase, and I think it's helpful, the truth shall set you free, right? So something you should know about readings, questions, things like that. So often readings, tarot, channeling, these are extraordinary at answering questions like the ones I just posed. You know, what am I avoiding? If I deeply trusted myself, what would I do? It's not necessarily always as great as answering things like yes or no, although you can ask that. But the yes or no is fine. It's just that underneath yes and no are all of these other deep, amazing questions designed to help you increase your wisdom so that the nuances can be in play, so that you have more awareness and therefore more choice, so that you get a little more life, a little more love out of the entire situation, right? You're not just getting a couple teaspoons of lemon, you're squeezing that whole lemon to get a whole half a cup of lemon for your lemon juice for your lemonade or whatever you're going to do with it. Maybe you're going to make lemon meringue pie. Ooh, that's a great idea, right? Take those lemons and make pie, baby. So often, if you are getting a question that might get answered, it will be not just your question, but also, you know, other things about where the energy is headed. What is the energy? What is the energy at play and where is it headed? How can you shift the energy? Do you want to shift the energy? And therefore, from the perspective of where the energy is headed, you know, what are things that you might like to know as a possibility, as an opportunity in front of you? Okay. So I just want to check in. I see some more people in the chat room. Yay. Good morning. Thank you so much. Hey. So hello all. It's so good to see all of you. I'm so much wisdom you're sharing. Thank you so much for coming, Michelle. Thank you. Thank you. All right. That's so fun. So fun to see you all here. Thank you so much for coming to the show. All right. So every week on the show, I have a little format, right, where I start with, you know, presenting the show, and then we dive in, and then we'll talk about a modern or ancient mystery associated with the theme of the show, and then I'll leave you with a practice. But I wanted to say that today I thought, you know, we're talking, the name of my show is The Modern Oracle, and we talked a little bit about this on the first day of the show, the first episode a couple weeks back. And all my life I've been very fascinated by wisdom tradition in different cultures. And I thought I might talk about today our mystery of the week. I was going to say mystery of the day, but it's the mystery of the week. And for many of us, the mystery of our millennia, the Oracle at Delphi. When I was little, I wrote a poem about the Oracle at Delphi. And I think that this Oracle was fascinating. So the Oracle, the most famous Oracle of the ancient world was in Delphi, which is in Greece, or ancient Greece at the time. I mean, they didn't call it ancient Greece, just like we don't call ourselves ancient America. Maybe I'm going to start calling us, where do you live? Oh, I live in ancient California. Maybe. So, you know, people would make this journey to this mountain, Pythia, and they would, I mean, we're talking kings, generals, merchants, all manner of people would make the journey to go ask uh, the oracle their urgent questions and get guidance. And the thing about the oracle at Delphi is that the answers were usually not direct. They usually required interpretation. If you've ever seen that series Vikings, there's an oracle on Vikings, and in Vikings it's a very like almost, and dare I use the phrase witch doctor, but and they use runes and they use animal bones and feathers and blood from animals, and it's very visceral, as an example of an ancient oracle. But that is an example of an oracle that doesn't answer questions directly. That's an example of an oracle who's giving answers that need to be interpreted. Well, the oracle at Delphi in ancient Greece was the same, gave answers that required interpretation. And what's that might sound frustrating, but what is beautiful about that is that that means that the oracle understood something that the great writers understood, right? The great playwrights of that time, or the great thinkers, the Plato and Socrates, which is that the wisdom lies partially in you. And that this is a conversation between the oracle, who can channel from the divine, from spirit, tapping into your energy and presenting something that includes the wisdom that lies within you. Also important to know about the oracle at Delphi is that above the entrance to the cave, uh, there were two inscriptions. Of course, the most famous being "Know thyself." Very important. Know thyself. The other one, interestingly, was "Nothing in excess." What can be interpreted, of course. I'm not saying what the ancient Greek was, uh, but "nothing in excess." That is less famous, and of course we know why. That's no fun, you know. No, come on, I want a lot of things in excess. I'm a maximalist. Can't you see the oil painting behind me? You can't actually. I just looked at the screen. Someday I'll show you guys that painting, by one of my favorite. It's a painting by one of my favorite painters. Um, that is related to me. Not the painter isn't related to me. The painting is related to me. We'll tell that story of Santa Fe someday. So the oracle is always pointing back. And when you are seeking wisdom, you are taking part in a long tradition in which the wisdom is partially in you, in your cellular energy, in your DNA, in your experience of life, in the years you've spent on this planet, in your ancestors, and in your participating in this grand, wonderful human experience on Earth. Okay? So whether it's somebody over at Want to Listen, or your own deck of tarot cards, or you're asking a question and the first song that comes on the radio and the first line that you hear is the response, you too get to have the knowing. You too get to have the wisdom. So I'm going to leave you all with a practice, a journaling practice for those 4 questions. And because I want to give you, something to do with all of this. And so if you want to write it down now, you can come back and watch the episode. The link, if you are watching because I sent you a link, the link is there. If you, I was going to say, if you want the link, I'll email it to you, but you have the link, you're here. All right. Well, sometime this week, it can be right now if you want, if you have time. But in general, I want you to just find some time this week. Give yourself 20 minutes. And I want you to think about a situation you're going through. And I want you to just write down these 4 questions and write them out. And let yourself answer without editing, okay? Don't make yourself have the right answer, the nice answer, the good answer, the answer that you think is going to get you the lottery ticket that wins, whatever, right? It's just number 1, what am I avoiding? Number 2, what would I do if I trusted myself? Number 3, what keeps repeating? And therefore, number 4, what am I pretending not to know? And you don't even have to do all 4, honestly. Just pick whichever question comes in the fastest. And then if you want to pull a tarot card after you've done this examination, that's great, because that can give you the energy. That can give you a direction on how to shift the energy, how to move forward, right? But these questions will really help you deeply understand the situation and yourself, because remember, the wisdom lives also partially in you. Okay? And I think I'd love to know if you ask yourself this, one of these or all of these questions, just one really great, honest question. Because I know there is so much advice out there right now about how to get this or do that or hustle your way to this. And I'm not saying there's not value in those things, right? I'm a hustler. I mean, I work very hard at the things I do, and I mean hustler in a good way, right? I'm a I'm not a proponent of hustle culture, and I don't want to say I'm a victim of hustle culture, but I get caught up in it, because I love everything I do. I love what I do. I love getting to do the things I do and getting to participate in life and co-create. But I think sometimes we get so caught up in the presentation of life, right? That we might be missing out on actual life. You see this so much with influencer culture, in particular, for example, how we look. A lot of you, if you follow me on social media, you know that I love fitness, and I'm becoming a gym babe. I've always enjoyed fitness, and as you know from watching the show, I had an eating disorder when I was young, and so there's a Venn diagram where there's a healthy version of these events, where being healthy and being fit can live together, and there's a Venn diagram where being unhealthy and being fit can live together. And so anyway, my husband's a bodybuilder, and we go to the gym together a lot. He's there right now, and I see a lot of people at the gym, and I think it's great. I love it. I love being strong. I love that I can, squat a grown man. Right? I can abduct, squat, and deadlift a grown ass man if I wanted to. But I mean, like at least if he were in the form of a barbell. But it's just fun for me. I like being strong. I like knowing that I'm doing good things for my bones, that I'm preventing osteoporosis in my elder years as much as I can, right? It's fun for me. But I do see how easy it is for people to get caught up in the presentation of health. Oh, if I have a six pack, then I know I'm fit, as opposed to actual health. No, actually, if you can run a mile without injury, and you can, healthfully lift your 7-year-old. It doesn't have to be seven. I'm just thinking because my 7-year-old nephew, I'm just trying to think of, like, you can lift your 3-year-old and not get a back problem. And it's not because a back problem is your fault. I'm just saying, like, why are you fit? Is it functional? What is really fit? Is it fit because you look fit? And look, I get it. I get the aesthetics. It's important. But don't mistake, right, what we're seeing right now, the presentation of fit for actual fitness. And if you are just doing it to look good, that's great. That's fine if you know that. But while you are consumed with the presentation of the thing, are you missing out on the thing? This is where we get into trouble with relationships, with money, with careers, with our health, right? So that's why I'm suggesting an honest question and an honest answer. Nobody else, this is just for you, really can give you a lot more choice in how you want to live your life. Because like we asked last week, how will you spend your one wild and precious life? Right? All right, my friends. So asking better questions ultimately are an act of self-respect, self-love, but even more so maybe self-respect. And I want us to respect ourselves and love our lives as best we can with what we're given and with what tools we have. So when you ask yourself really good questions, you're saying, I trust that I'm capable of handling the real answer. And now you might be saying, Erin, I am not capable of handling the real answer. And I'm here to say, maybe you are. Maybe you are. What if you are? Okay. So let me just check in and see. Nope, no more questions in the chat room. So let me say to you all, if you come find me, we're coming to the end of the episode. Okay. So I want you to go ask yourself something really good this week. Next week, the first Tuesday of July. So we'll be talking about the energy for the month of July. And I will be over at one2listen.com/Erin. That's Erin with an E. Today, if you're watching live, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., not at 9, not in the next 15 minutes, but at 10 a.m., I will be on one2listen.com/Erin, and I will have reduced rates for that 1 hour. And then you can come find me there anytime this week. I'd love to chat with you, talk to you on the phone, whatever tickles your fancy. And otherwise, I'll see you next week, and we'll be talking all about the energy coming for the month of July. Thank you. Ciao.